Okay, it's 3:05 and I can see we've reached a healthy number of attendees. So as I mentioned, the session will be recorded, so anyone who does join later, then you will be able to access the recording soon after as well. As a reminder, my name is Abby Tarek. I'm one of the customer success managers here, and today I'm joined by my colleague Miguel Carrillo, who's the professional services team manager for EMEA. Today's webinar is really all about one of the common initiatives in enterprise architecture, application portfolio management. And today we're going to be focusing on some of the ways in which you can effectively manage your application portfolio in iServer 365. Many organizations use far more applications than what they realize. And so this is one of the common and sort of easy starting places to start to visualize your enterprise architecture in that sense as well. Application portfolio management gives decision makers an easy way to understand what applications they're using, what they aren't, but perhaps they might still be paying for as well. So application portfolio management, as by its definition in that sense, it provides all key stakeholders, whether you use an application owner, it might be different entities or IT functions, as well, with an inventory of the applications across an organization, together with key metrics to understand their fit and value to the business. So this is quite useful for and important to several organizations. And some of the typical goals for application portfolio management can include, starting from the very beginning, in which whether that's just understanding and actually capturing what that application portfolio looks like, whether you're looking to compose and have a breakdown of the costs and roll-ups for different business functions that are using applications, perhaps, or it could...
Sorry, Abby, I think we are having problems with watching your slides. I believe, at least I'm still watching the welcome one. Sorry.
Bear with me 1 second.
That's okay.
Apologies. There we go. Is that any better? That should have fixed it there now.
It does, yeah. Okay,
apologies. So I'll kind of re-summarize that for you there. Today's webinar is really all about one of the common initiatives in enterprise architecture, being application portfolio management. Many organizations use far more applications than what they realize, and so application portfolio management gives that enterprise level a summary of all the company's applications and an inventory, together with the key metrics to understand their business, the fit and value to the business in that sense as well. Now, there are numerous goals and objectives for which iServer 365 is being used across our customer base. And in the context of application portfolio management, it can range from the very starting point of capturing and understanding what that application portfolio is made up of, understanding what perhaps the breakdown of the costs might be, and roll-ups for different business functions. As you develop and enrich your application portfolio, it can also enable you to understand the impact or dependencies of applications to other elements of your architecture as well. Now, one element that has a key impact as to the structure of your application portfolio is the meta model that you're using. In iServer 365, we're able to support Archimate and TOGAF, or you can opt for Core EA, which is a simple and easy to use meta model that's been developed by Orbus software. TOGAF, just to summarize, point out, TOGAF provides around 3 object types in the application architecture area, whereas with Archimate, you have a much more complex meta model, which gives you the options for more object types and then subsequently relationships in the application architecture area, which then added benefit, if you like, in that sense, that gives the complexity, but also the ability to become more descriptive, and the requirement to learn much more about how the model can be built out. As you can see, today we'll be kind of focusing on the kind of key components of application architecture in that sense. And today we'll summarize kind of how the model itself will impact how you use this in iServer 365 as well. So the starting point for application portfolio management in iServer 365 is always looking at what data you currently have. It could be that it's captured in spreadsheets, perhaps managed by different individuals. Some data might be housed in other IT systems, such as your CMDB. Equally, and as is often the case, there might not be a single source of truth, or there could be information that is completely out of date. Whatever the starting point might be, Orbus can help in that respect, and you can use iServer 365 to build out a true picture of your application portfolio as well. And we'll talk through some of the ways in which you can develop and maintain that data in that sense as Miguel comes on to that section as well soon. Now, we have developed a solutions hub with an array of solutions to help you crowdsource information so that you can develop and have that true sense of what your application portfolio looks like, but then also socialize and also understand some key insights from the data that you have available, understanding where the gaps are and where perhaps more data and information is required from different stakeholders as well. That actually leads me on quite nicely to pass over to Miguel to then give you a working example of some of the ways in which you can use iServer 365 and the various different tools and resources that are available to maintain your application portfolio. So Miguel, would you like to take over from here?
Let me try to do that. Let's see if we make it smoothly. So I'm obviously taking control. So welcome all. Just to reiterate, my name is Miguel Carrillo, and I am the manager of the professional services team here in the EMEA region at Orbus Software. I'm based in the UK, but probably have worked with several customers globally as well. Hopefully some of you are in the call. What we're interested in showing you today is not basically how you can import data or how you can connect with systems like ServiceNow or Sharewell. In fact, what we want to probably show you is the benefits of other iServer 365 capabilities. Its integration with Office 365, with SharePoint, with Planner, and with Teams to then govern and optimize your inventories of applications to allow better decision making. And I find myself in SharePoint, which is the portal that we use to publish and contextualize the information that we have in the repository. To explain you one cycle, right? There might be many, but at least it's my cycle for application portfolio management. As Avi was mentioning before, it's very important for organizations to establish goals, what they want to achieve with application portfolio management. We know that it delivers a picture of your application portfolio and dependencies about applications, business capabilities, and locations. At least those are some of the reports that we present you when you deploy the dashboard through Power BI. In case that you struggle to define your goals, let me probably tell you a few of the benefits that I primarily see when I work with organizations like yours that are focusing on application portfolio management. They try to obtain a clear picture of the expenditure. We know that it might be difficult to find the costs of all your softwares and applications across the enterprise, but that total cost of ownership is important. It will help you to identify candidates for rationalization, for cost-saving opportunities. They look at licensing optimization. You will be able, if you bring the right data, to compare licenses, numbers, and costs, obtaining savings on those that are not required. They also identify applications that are unused and can be retired just by looking at the relationships that they have with their capabilities. They might find that they have redundant applications that are just duplicates and that no one is using based on the amount of users utilizing that application. They also look at the infrastructure costs, the support cost, maintenance cost, and geographically where those applications are stored or hosted. So if they can do some initiatives to reduce them. And as just to finish with the vendor, well, they also look at vendor consolidation initiatives. Can we try to consolidate some different softwares that can also be provided by a different vendor altogether with the aim of reducing that total cost of ownership? And that's kind of the aim, no? Starting from the goal that your organization has to build with application portfolio. Now we will start looking at how we build that application portfolio. And how to get started is how you have it on the right side of this screen. You need to collect your applications. You need to identify who owns them, their life cycle. Are they being used? Are they phasing out? Are we planning some of those? What costs and capabilities they have? Finally, publish that content. And then, hopefully and usefully, in this session, we will cover how you can assess those applications and establish some data governance processes to notify you of reviews and end of life cycles that your applications are coming to. So how do we build our application portfolio? Just very briefly to refresh your memories. And to also mention the different resources that we have available at Orbus Software. We're going to be looking at the meta model that is required to then build the application portfolio properly. And we have found organizations that sometimes when they deploy the dashboard application portfolio core pack, it doesn't work properly. It doesn't display the information that they're looking for. And it's all mainly due to the fact that we are not using the right meta model relationships and attributes. And here is where you can see it. We're going to be looking at the application, but not only to the application as an object type. We're going to be relating it to the location where it's hosted or is being used. We're going to be realizing an application category, the function that it delivers in Archimate. We're going to also relating it to the capability that the enterprise does that is then related to. And that capability has to have 3 levels. And as you can see, the location has to have 2 levels. And sometimes you will struggle to build this meta model in place, but we were here to help you. And we have covered in other webinars how to import data with Excel or how to sync with ServiceNow. And we have those resources on the right side in Hive. And if you don't know what Hive is, just simply let me just click on one of them to show you how easily it is to then find the resources that you're looking for. If you don't have access to Hive, reach out to your CSMs, to your account managers, so you get access to our learning platform where you can then retrieve all the content that we publish there. You will also find a foundational course that is going to teach you the basics, the fundamentals, with short videos that will explain some of these concepts that you will need to import the data through. So there is no need for us to go through this in the Orbinar that we are now delivering. What we want to show you is a bit more advanced stuff. Now, if you want to find more information about the meta model, the composition, the attributes that you will need, if you are not syncing with ServiceNow, but you're going to be importing data to start with, we also have documents that are available in the Solutions Hub and can also be available by request. Like the PDF that will explain how the application portfolio core pack works like. We have instructions and a section that will cover what attributes are required, explaining what they are. Not only that, you will also find sections for relationships, and at least one of these is required for the dashboard to be published. So it's very important that even though that we probably haven't started those initiatives to look into, what applications will realize capabilities, at least we generate a dummy one. So in case that you are wondering how we can help you to prepare that Excel spreadsheet, well, you can always contact us and we can always go and share with you our core data sets. Let's give it a minute. These data sets are prepared for you to just set the data. We have instructions, a glossary explaining what you will be using, and a very similar picture to the meta model that you just saw before. You have an attribute section defining them as well. All of them are obviously focused, in this case, in the application. Other dashboards will be focused on other attributes and object types. And then we have examples to prepare the objects and the relationships spreadsheets that are going to then be imported using the entire methodology, the entire workbook method. One click, you choose the model using this spreadsheet, okay? So we have here an application with some dummy attributes. We have then one capability or three capabilities, two locations, and one category. And if we have a look at the relationships worksheet, well, then we will find 6 relationships that are required for then the dashboard to load properly. And then you can focus, well, I only have applications and categories. I'll be looking at capabilities at a later stage. But to start, at least, let's bring one attribute of each and one relationship of each that are required. Okay? So that's how you build your data. And then how you import it in i7-5. If I go back to the cycle, once we have finished building our application portfolio, it's now time to start reviewing what gaps we have. In order to do that, to make your life easier, you will be using, or I will be recommending to use i7-5. The dashboard will have a data completeness report that in some other webinars, if you're interested, has been covered, and we can then have a look at. But mainly, simple views will help you from your repository to check what gaps you have within your data. I'm accessing now my repository where I've got access to my baseline architecture content, and I have favorited some of my views. I've got an application portfolio to start with. I'm going to show you what I will do to identify gaps here. I launch my application portfolio. I have it conditionally formatted to those specific values that I want to highlight. Once I publish this in SharePoint, we'll talk about that later. And what I could do is, well, I want to highlight the lack of owners, gaps that I have potentially in values of my columns. So I go into my column options. I pick the column that I want to highlight. I set an icon of the type kind of risk for a condition that is empty. And I click on save. And immediately, I'll be now highlighting gaps. Obviously, it's a blank cell, but we are now highlighting. We are able to then sort it if we want just to focus on those applications that are empty. This is a very common way that users do to fill the data that they have. There are other ways of finding gaps that I'm going to show you. You can also find gaps between dependencies. Let's suppose that we want to have a capability decomposition and find applications that are realizing those capabilities. We can simply generate a traceability view with our 3 levels of capabilities and the 4th for applications. And then look, investigate what capabilities are probably not connected to an application. And once we find one, we obviously resource and check for those departments that are working with financial reporting, and we simply connect the application that we're looking for. we add it. As another example to fill gaps or find dependencies and manage in bulk relationships, we also have matrix. You can simply create an application by category matrix to then look into what applications are not being categorized and identify those, and probably Team Suite is one of them, and create that relationship there. You can always search and research this information and then import it with the same spreadsheet that we offered you before, but this is a more interactive way of looking at the data from the repository point of view. Such, if we go back to the cycle and we have finished reviewing our application data gaps, we are in a position now to start communicating and socializing our application portfolio initiative. And what better place to do that than using obviously your SharePoint capabilities. Here, be selfish. Show as much as you can. Develop SharePoint in a very attractive way to obviously engage with your audience. And you will have different type of audiences. Audiences that are interested in high-level overview of data, and we are going to be probably targeting the dashboards to make decisions. And you will have other type of audiences from users that they just simply want to know about application portfolio management, and others that are going to be owning the data, right? Let's suppose that we have those three cases. So deliver and develop your application portfolio management pages in SharePoint in a way that at the end you can engage. Here I have an example with different links, and this is quite simple to generate. Just quick links, web parts that are going to take me to other sections that we will cover later. And what I'm bringing here is the view that we just saw before. So my users can now engage, select one application, and retrieve details. In this case, some of you will see or will notice that they cannot make changes. I don't want them to. You might want to restrict this specific page for only visibility, but they can provide feedback if they wanted to, and they can see the dependencies that AWS Lambda has with other areas of our enterprise. And you can combine web parts, i765 web parts that you can embed in SharePoint with then reports and visualizations, like a simple application by application category landscape that brings more information around your application portfolio. The same categories and application relationships that you brought for the dashboard will then help you to as well be displayed in this landscape manner. Here they're highlighted by life cycle. Okay. Now we talk about a second audience, which might be very relevant in your case, which is the owner of the data of your applications. And we want to make your life easier. So what you can do is also use the i765 capabilities to then let them manage their own applications. So you can generate a specific page that then you can permission to those groups or users that will have access to then manage their own applications. And when I click in my applications, it's picking my credentials from my organization, it's matching them to the i765 user that I have in the repository, and is then displaying only the applications that I own, hopefully. And there we are. These will be working differently with every single user that we have in the organization. And these views are very simple to generate. Let me show you how. Go back to the repository, click in My Application Portfolio, and show you what type of filter we are using. It's the same application portfolio we used before. What we have added is a filter for a specific person type attribute, and then add the condition at me. In this case, what I'm using is a technical owner, that it might be different from the business owner. All right. And this is another way that you have to start bringing data governance into your application portfolio management. Now, the main solution that we probably are interested as well, and the one that we have been talking about before with the meta model and the relationships and the importation of data, is the portfolio. But let's have a look at it. I've got a specific portfolio analysis and visualizations page, in this case, in my sections, where then it can take me to the application portfolio overview, and I have sorted it by domain. Let's talk about applications. Let's click in the application portfolio overview. In this case, what I'm going to do, because it's embedded on a page, I'm going to make it full screen. So I'm going to open my dashboard, and I'm going to then select one of the reports and then make it full screen with the tools that we have, so we see it a bit better. We launch the applications by category. We make it full screen. And here's when we can start now bringing a real picture of our data set to our stakeholders, the ones that are going to be making decisions. So as I mentioned before, these reports are going to present you data that then you can interpret based on your goals. Here we see the total cost of our applications in around $16 million. The count of them and how many categories we have. We can identify quickly what's the category, the group, the function that contains more applications to start making analysis, at least to answer the questions that probably business is interested in from a basic point of view. And by simply clicking in back office, which is the one that we're spending the most, we can obtain a distribution of the costs, look how many applications we have, and start answering questions. Right? How many we have that we are using? Can I sort them by total cost to see which is the one that we are spending the most? And these reports will bring more questions. Why are we spending in Harry's data $150,000? How can we have 35 live applications for the back office? Why we are planning 2 and 1 in development when we already have 35? Is there anything that we can do? And you can combine these reports to start looking into, for example, what applications you have that you have less used. What is the capabilities that probably you have more applications? Let's pick an example, distribution, 39, 3 million. If we click in distribution, we will have then a different view. So we have 27 live, 10 in development, right? What are the reasons? Can we identify a few of them that are redundant? Do we have them in different locations? Is there a reason to keep them in those places? Right? Just analysis. Okay. At any stage, you can then provide an impact that the applications will have in your enterprise. So if we pick any of them, I know that you would probably know this functionality. You could then look into the details or the impact that American software will have across the enterprise, looking at what else is related to. Now we see that is used by only one process that is realized by 4 different technologies. So potentially we can look into infrastructure costs as well, and it's located in Melbourne. Okay, we can also combine it with the details. To continue with the report, not just my intention to explain how to run the reports, is just to analyze the data that is coming through. We can look into applications by owner. Here, some of you will probably struggle with finding the owners. We do as well. We have 90 that have not assigned an owner. We need to work in our data quality as well. Well, let's do it. Let's start compiling all that information and bringing it through. But we can now look into who are they responsible for specific softwares or applications, what cost they're involved in, and who is responsible for at least look into those initiatives to simplify them. Applications by location, one that I quite like, requires 2 levels of locations. There is no need to look into global, right? Because if we set countries and cities globally, I know that I'm using 187 applications and the total cost. Now I can see that in Europe, I've got quite a combined number in France, Ireland, United Kingdom, and Denmark, Belgium. Is there any reason to have these locations there? Can we consolidate them? Can we bring them to specific data centers. The USA might be relevant there, and we also look into where they are hosted in different cities as well. Can we make some efforts to probably combine them? And that will start reducing your infrastructure cost. By vendor, a lot of initiatives in consolidating vendors. So if you fill your vendor information, at least what the vendor is, you will be able to start grouping them. And then, answer questions. You might find that vendors provide you with different sets of softwares, and potentially they have in their spectrum of products softwares that probably also realize or do the same than others that you have. So you can probably combine efforts and obtain better deals with them in case of future negotiations. So when you deploy these solutions and you start now bringing the data and contextualizing it, stakeholders will start asking even more questions. So, for example, how can we know now what are the applications that we want to invest in? What are the applications that we are not supporting correctly? Which ones are necessary or not? And here is where we start assessing your applications based on how fit for purpose they are. And to do this, we need to determine both the technical and the business fit. And this dashboard doesn't show it, but my aim is to present you today with what the solutions that we have to do that. So if I go back to my effective application portfolio management page, the next stage on my cycle is to assess the applications. To assess the applications, we have specific solutions that integrate with SharePoint. Those solutions, if you're aware, are set surveys for the assessment of applications. And once the survey is submitted, retrieve that data, send that data to the repository. It's not my intention to display or to activate these solutions. The purpose here is to unlock the power of application portfolio management. Start using the integrations that you have with Office 365 to then allow your users to drive that data. This service, if you want to know how to set up a survey for application portfolio assessment, is very straightforward. It's made of different questionnaire of 8 questions. It's simply for me to probably do this and read it. It's a very nice experience. I'll show it to you right now. It's based on industry best practices. The responses are processed into the repository. And if you want to know technically how it works, we have 2 list forms, one that keeps all your applications, but the model that you have selected, and ones that deliver the questionnaire with 8 questions per section. And here you have a demo on how to run it. Now, if we go to how this works to see how this works in SharePoint, we can then go to the section Assess Your Applications. And then, first of all, when you access, you will see the responses. And responses can be displayed as labels or tiles, as they call them here, with the average, with the result of the questions that have been answered, or as a list. And in a list, you will find the values that were answered per user. The recommendation, open them to those that are using those softwares. The more data that will come through, the more accurate it will be. In my opinion, if you just ask an SME, what is the business fit and the technical fit of an application, it will be very restricted, very subjective. Imagine as well the time that it will take you to reach out to every single SME to do interviews and questions about the fit for purpose of those applications. Imagine the criteria that you will need to set, the scoring, results, and then the publication. Benefit from the integrations that we offer you to do that. Set those solutions, and then a user will be able to access this list, select the application that they are using or interested in, evaluate, and answer the questions that you see in front of you. 8 questions related to the business usage and 8 questions related to the technical uses. By the way, I'm gonna evaluate GoToMeeting. So from a business point of view, I think it's strong and support the business needs. We're using it for our Orbinars. Excellent performance so far. I wouldn't say that it's easy to use. I'd quite say that it's difficult to use. I needed a lot of training. It's accessible. I don't know if very good or as an average. It seems available. Extremely stable, hopefully. And then the information quality, it's always complete and accurate. I know who you are and questions that you're asking. I don't know if it's strategic or not, probably tactical. We don't use it every day. Technically, I might not be very knowledgeable about this, but I'm using GoToMeeting, so I might be able to answer some of those. The number is not very high in our enterprise. It could probably be very easily to scale or escalate. Supported, good, maintained properly, quite stable, controlled by standards, no issues so far, and it seems to work very seamless with other monitors and other technologies that I'm using. My headset, my laptop, and Teams, for example, that I have it on the background. So I'm going to submit my data. Now, when we submit the data, we obviously have another solution that will push this data into the repository. This takes a few minutes. So what I'm going to do is just to probably open Excel 365 just to show you that the data that we have, and let me go back to the average to show you the tiles. If I evaluated Excel 365 as 475 and 5, I will have that data coming through. So if the more answers about Excel 365 that we get, those will then be part of that average. We see here the 475 and the 5 coming through. Okay. And this is when we start unlocking the power, letting our users to use and to assess our applications. Okay. Once you have assessed those applications, then you are able to present to your stakeholders the results, and it will then tell them where to invest their money. If we go back to our main page where we are publishing our content, we're talking about application rationalization. And in fact, we will be talking about the time analysis. There is no need for you to probably describe them in this way. It just makes it more attractive for a user to probably see different initiatives that you're working rather than having a dashboard that displays information not explained. So if I click in time analysis, my stakeholders now will be able to see what applications they need to invest in. Remember, it's the top right corner, the ones that are highly technical and with a very high fit for purpose from a business point of view. The ones that probably you want to migrate technically are those that are technically lower, that are in this space, but are very important for business. And then focus as well in the bottom left, get rid of them. Obviously, after performing the specific impact analysis that you will need to do to then see what else might be impacted if we do that. Right? We see in this case, ABC human capital is quite expensive compared to others, and we see that it's involved in different type of projects and realized by one technology called analysis. So it might be quite simple to probably start rationalizing these candidates and retiring. Okay. I'm kind of keen on showing you other solutions quite briefly that we can then put on other Orbinars, just to let you also have time for questions. My main focus was to show you the application assessment and an overall of the application portfolio analysis, but very keen for you to start exploring all the solutions that we have that integrate with Teams and integrate with Planner. Those are end-of-life notifications and Planet tasks, right? I'm gonna probably leave it there as we have just 15 minutes to go over questions, but these solutions are found in the Solutions Hub, very easy to set up, and will notify you in a Teams channel that you choose, potentially your business transformation portal, your applications owner Teams channel, your enterprise architecture channel, of those applications that are close to the point of getting retired. If I bring Teams, I'll do it in a minute. After I show you the Planner ones, we can then combine them both. the other one that I was talking about is Planet Tasks. Planet Tasks will then allow those that are responsible for the data of those object types that you choose, because in fact, you could not just relate this to an application, but you could submit it or deploy it for different object types at the same time. It will generate a task in Teams for them to evaluate or review the details of the object based on a review date that you choose, a date attribute, and also a person type attribute that is going to be obviously the one that is sending the notifications to that user in the organization, right? The output of those is as follows, in case that you want to have a brief overview of them. And we can definitely put this if you're interested in a different Orbinar. You will find, oh, let me just see if this expands. Let me just refresh. Right. Well, that one on the bottom is the Planet task. So doesn't look like it likes showing or displaying the data. I don't know why it should be at least displaying the content, but these are the things of the live. My intention was to show you at least the content of these notifications. Oh, there it comes, it's loading. At least you will find notifications on this on the top for the 5 applications that are close to retire. And the bottom one will generate, oh, now it's coming, be patient. Sort of evaluated GoToMeeting in a different way. We see here 5 applications that are early to retire or have already retired with the information and capabilities that could be potentially at risk. And we see the Planet tasks that have been created, at least 20 i765 items. And this is driven to me as I am the owner of those, and I will find them in my planner. The tunnel will then be generated with an i765 task tab that will allow you to then manage your tasks, complete them. The task is a simple notification. You need to now review evolution SRM. You can click in the object details. This will take you to your repository. You will review every year, every 6 months. You choose the frequency. Think about the use cases, not only applications, but we are now showing you applications. Every year, my applications can be reviewed, can be changed, can be edited. And once the task is marked completed, then you can then reset the next review date attribute to the next year or to the next 6 months or to the next 90 days. Okay, so it's really to help you unlock that power. Data governance driven by the users that own that information. So just to finish and to recap, hopefully the session has helped you to understand how you can manage a bit better application portfolio, at least visualize the life cycle stages, understand the impact that it will have in different categories, align those applications with business, let them assess their applications for you, use those metrics to understand how well they match to the technical and the business fit, to obviously allow then decision making. So then your stakeholders can easily know what applications they need to retire because they are not fit for purpose at all, or which one they need to invest because they look like are the critical ones for your business. So Abby, all yours. Happy for you to probably make yourself a presenter if you want.
Yeah, we can. No, that's absolutely fine. We can take some of the questions now. I'm conscious of time.
Okay. Yes.
But we've had a few interesting questions come through. So if I just start off with so one of the questions was, if the user are unable to answer the technical part of the survey, what would you recommend there, Miguel?
If users that you are opening the assessment are not able, in the sense that they will not be knowledgeable. Well, I mean, we have worked with other organizations in changing even the layout of the questionnaire even potentially the calculation of the formulas. So you could probably set this is a list in SharePoint. So let me probably show you quickly. I mean, there are things that you can change. I will definitely let them answer them. If they are a user of the software, they will know how technically respond. As you have seen the questions, is how stable it is, how much support you get, internal or external. It's a matter of probably let them answer. If you divide, in my opinion, if you divide to questions related to business for the business people, question related for the technical people, you don't get the right answers. You don't get the right visibility. So I'll open it, teach them around the questionnaire. And if that doesn't work, potentially we can break it down into two, okay? Because these are these list forms that you generate in SharePoint. The only things that we generate them automatically for you. So there are things that we can change.
Great, thanks, Miguel. One of the other questions that we had is, I've heard you've got an accelerator programs on these use cases. And what is this one?
Well, this one is an accelerator. Well, I don't know if you want to answer that question. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we do have up to 10 accelerator options available. Application portfolio management is just one of them. But that also just, you know, we also do have application portfolio rationalization. So if you're looking to enable cost savings and actually reduce the spend of across your applications, and that's also an effective accelerator to make use of. Do get in touch with your customer success manager or account manager if you're interested in hearing more about that, because with each of the accelerators there's dedicated outcomes, objectives, and then also an overview as to what's required, sort of in terms of key participants and some of the things to consider in that sense as well. So please do get in touch and we can certainly summarise that or share further information on the accelerators for you as well. I don't know if you've got time for another question before we finish off, Miguel.
Do owners have to exit as users in I765 before importing data? Good question. If we want to import that data against that person attribute, yes. Right? Otherwise, that person attribute is gonna not pick that information. If we want to initially first import them to an owner text, and once we have made progress on bringing users through your enterprise or organization, then you can take that value and paste it on the person attribute that then you have configured.
I can see there's some other questions that we've not been able to answer, but we will come back to, we can see exactly who submitted those, so we'll come back to you all and send, perhaps also share a summary of the anonymised questions and answers in that sense as well with everyone that was attended. So I'm conscious we've got a few minutes. Sorry, go ahead, Miguel.
Let me just answer one that is coming as well through that is related to that I said before. So where you can find the list to modify the questions, right? I wouldn't probably recommend you to do so. So let me just open this, just because it will require quite an advanced SharePoint and also coding, or at least just to bring the data in a specific format. So you will have site content. Sorry, no, we open the list, application assessment.
Yeah.
Where you have your answers, and that list is going to now allow you to access the settings when you have on the cog. Hopefully you can see list settings here, and then you're going to be able to see how this list is created. So you will have a list description and navigation, but you can see the columns, and columns are like the choices. These are the questions. What is required to be answered, because we want the 8th to be completed. And these are the things that you can probably modify. Now, I wouldn't recommend to make any changes into the calculations. Just get in touch with us, because the calculated this is like the 8 questions around business will then set the business fit, and the 8 questions around technically fit will make the result for the technical fit. Get in touch first just to know your requirements, and then we can definitely help you to accommodate them.
Great, thanks for that, Miguel. I can see that there was a few other questions that we weren't able to answer, but as I mentioned, we'll come back to you individually and then share a summary of the questions and answers for everyone that joined today as well, just as a reference point. But thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. Thank you, Miguel, for that detailed overview and explanation of all the different ways in which you can really make, unlock the power of managing your application portfolio through iServer 365, but also through SharePoint and various different tools as well. It's been a pleasure for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.